morning. We'll go ahead and get started. Before I get started, I just want to wish Coach Levy a happy birthday. 98 years young this morning. Incredible. What a legend, right, in more ways than one. So our thoughts are with him and his family, and congratulations, and hopefully we'll see him soon.
I know you've had a great relationship with him. Can you take us into that a little bit and how that relationship has evolved since you've been here in Buffalo for several years?
Yeah, and he's all class, as everyone knows. I mean, I think that's a big piece of our relationship is he's been open, extremely friendly in his approach. And listen, when you're the winningest coach of the Buffalo Bills, and it doesn't always happen in every organization. Sometimes people don't really pull for the coaches that follow them, and he's done nothing but pull for us, pull for me, support me, and our staff, and what we're trying to get down here. So I couldn't be more grateful.
Sean, do you have 50 more years of life left?
I'd love to know. I would love to know, Sal. If you can, figure that one out, let me know.
I remember Marv always used to, when I first, back in the 90s, he would always be running after practice or whatever, and then I know you try and keep yourself in shape too. So, hey, but I wanted to ask you, I guess Vic was telling me he's being recognized at the Hall of Fame this weekend as the oldest living Hall of Famer, I think, at 98. I'm kind of in line with that. I want a comment from you. What has he meant, with his Hall of Fame legacy among coaches? How is he, revered, I guess?
Yeah, I'll tell you a quick story. So, years ago at the Combine, I was on. Speaking of jogging, I was on the treadmill in the weight room. I think it was one morning or one afternoon, and this is when Marv had come back to the Bills in a different capacity. I believe he was the general manager, and of course I know him as coach, right? So I'm jogging on the treadmill, and who gets up on the elliptical next to me but Coach Levy. And for any coach, let alone a young coach at the time, and then someone who's shared our experience together at William & Mary in terms of with Coach being there years before I was there, and then just his persona, the legend, it precedes him. And so I never met him in person, but here he is. I'm thinking I'm jogging on the treadmill, and here's the legend right beside me. It was kind of a surreal moment,
You ever share about how he would reach those? I mean, that was a cast of characters back then, so a lot of personalities in that room, and he would quote Churchill to him and everything, and do it. He was the perfect guy to bring them all together. Do you ever talk about that and try and share some of his approach in your own way with these players?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always learning, right? I think that's an important mindset to have. Even as late as so Daryl and Steve were over there, and I was just talking with them about kind of how Marv did some things, and I gotta believe, having been around some of that core group when I first got here, and meeting with them and taking some notes on what it meant, and to play in Buffalo, and when this place was really going like it is now, and those early 90 days and years, I got to see firsthand some of the cast of characters and listen to the stories, and then over here a few minutes ago just asked those guys. I said, hey, because they were talking about how Coach did some things, and I said I got to believe that he picked his battles in some instances there with those guys. When you're talking about having Jim and Daryl, and I mean, he was the right coach for the right team, and he did things the right way, and he still does, and that's why I have so much respect for him. So yeah.
Who was faster on the treadmill?
I mean, listen.
Were you keeping an eye on the pace?
He was on the elliptical, and I was on the treadmill, so it wasn't really a fair race, maybe. But again, I was impressed just the type of shape and condition he was in, and that was probably. I mean, I've been here 7 years now. That was probably 10, 12 years ago. I've lost track of time, when he was back as the general manager. So, but when I got off, I shook his hand and said, "Coach, I'm Sean McDermott, and we have something in common. Having spent some time at William and Mary, both of us." And he was very gracious, very cordial, just like you'd expect. So.
Sean, can you give us an update on the injury, where Settle is at, Jordan, and if anybody will go today?
Yeah. So Brian will not go. Thompson, I have the list. I didn't get it out. I was focused on Coach Levy here. Settle will give it a go today. We'll see how he makes it through. He's feeling better. Vaughn, obviously. Jordan will not. Tyler will not. Obviously, still all on PUP. Thompson will not. Still dealing with the concussion. Kyron Brown will give it a go. He had been out with the groin, and then Isaiah Coulter will not. Still working through a knee here. So. Oh, Jordan was a rest day. I thought you referred to Jordan Phillips or Jordan Poyer. Yeah, just a rest day. He just had a little bit of a groin. Yeah.
Coach, do you anticipate at all maybe seeing Jordan Phillips or Tyler Medikevich, or is that something that will be determined as we go on?
Yeah, as we go on.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just really, that's not a day-to-day conversation. It's more of a every other day check in with Nate and give me an update, see where they're at and how they're doing.
We get some clarification. Poyer will practice today.
He will.
Okay.
He will. That was the other day. Jordan was out with the veteran rest day. Yeah.
Hey, Sean, what went into Tyrell working with the top team at the last practice? It kind of went Tyrell, then Terrell, and then Balin, but it seemed like Tyrell skipped Balin in that sort of rotation. So what went
just really just trying to give reps. Balin's doing a good job, and I think just really just trying to see a little bit more of those two guys working one day at a time there.
We talked to John Butler the other day, and he was saying how he doesn't have a deadline for that CB2 spot, and did mention it's a bit more of your decision. Do you have a deadline there, or is it kind of? He said it might be like throughout the season evaluation, basically.
Yeah, we're using code words CB2, CB1,
right? Like
QB1. What's next? HC1, RB1. I was like, hey, what's next, right? So, CB2. You lost me a little bit there. So what?
Do you have a timeline
I was tied into this this little acronym you're working here.
for CB2, do you have a deadline in place?
To Joe's question, I know you're going with it with the middle linebacker position. I think it's just it's a matter of time. I don't really have a set date. We don't, and it's really just about. I think you'll know when you know, and you'd like it to be sooner than later for all these decisions. But in fairness to the player in the process, just giving it time to play out. I mean, we're going to have a great opportunity to evaluate as coaches and Brandon with his staff come Friday night in the stadium with the crowd, which will be, putting guys in a position that they haven't been in some time or ever, especially for some of the new players. And that'll be a great opportunity for us to evaluate, but also for our team to grow, because there's going to be some mistakes because it gets stressful in some moments, and we do that intentionally. That stress needs to be handled the right way. That people look at stress as a bad thing, but stress can be used as an opportunity as well to grow.
Sean, do those mirror each other? Like the decision, not specifically those positions, but the decisions that you have to make? Do you want to have those kind of at one moment, like, okay, this is who we're rolling with? Or is it, okay, this one we know we can put a bow on, but this one we still need a little bit more time?
Yeah,
How
more.
does that work?
Yeah, I mean, more like that. More like each they're separate of one another. If it comes together at the same time, then it does. But I think they're really separate of one another.
Hey, Sean, do you think, so far what you see, is Taylor Rapp, can we call him maybe a Swiss Army knife type guy? It seems like you've got some plans that really might show off some of his versatility. Can you maybe discuss a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, he does. He does a lot for us. Extremely smart football player. So I was walking up from working out this morning, ironically enough, and he was one of the players that was early to come down here, and it's every day. His work ethic, his habits, his DNA puts him in a position to be able to do more than one thing for us, and he's done a nice job to this point.
Sean, when you're dividing the reps for these position battles and evaluating guys, do you give more opportunities to the young guys who haven't been in those positions because you haven't seen as much, where Tyrell's been in the system and got starts in the middle, Dane's obviously had the job, and even Ryan Bates at right guard.
Right.
Do you purposely, as maybe part of that plan you spoke of, give those other guys more opportunities because you just need to see more of them?
Right. No, like that starts in spring. You feel like, you know some of the players that have been with us. In fairness to that position, we do know a little bit of T-Dot, right? But not enough to make a decision by this point, one way or the other, because he hasn't been in that starting role for an extended period of time. So, but in a case like, hey, a veteran player that's been here a while, okay, Deion Dawkins, we feel like we know who Deion is, how he's going to perform in all situations. And so you get a younger player in there, maybe with the ones, especially Friday night from time to time, and see, hey, how do they handle themselves in that type of environment, playing alongside of Josh Allen. And that's just an example of one position, because I think that is important as part of the overall evaluation, and say, who can we count on, who are they, and how do they handle those moments. And again, it'll be an opportunity for them to grow.
Understanding that you've taken it one day at a time with Tamar, just with 2 days of pads now done, what have you seen from him and his progress?
Yeah, extremely courageous. Great to see him have that interception the other day. I wish I was here to listen to. Hopefully, the crowd appreciated that as well. And every day he continues to amaze us.
Because Ryan Bates is so flexible, what does that do for the evaluation of being able to maybe put Osiris in a little bit to at guard? I don't know. Obviously flexibility is great, and you want to have that. I know you also want to have a starting position maybe if you're Ryan, but it also gives you a little more options. Wouldn't that be right?
Right. And Ryan, when he first came to us, was used in that capacity of, he was basically a backup, first guy in. He was the sixth offensive lineman, so it helps you play a long time in the league, right? Position flexibility, and the more you can do. So, but any player wants to be the starter and wants to kind of hone in on one position. So, I think that's important that one knows their job, but also has an ability to bounce around. And Coach Cromer does a great job of cross training those guys quite frequently up front.
Hey Sean, with Dorian Williams, are you at this point in camp focusing him more on the middle or the outside, and what type of progress have you seen from him in whichever spot you're in?
Yeah, he's been outside only, and he's done a really good job. Really, when you look back at the spring, we started him inside just to see where he was and whatnot, and so then we moved him over towards the end of spring, maybe the last day or two, so he could get a jump start on it, and he's done a really good job to this point.
Sean, you're a week in. Now turning the page forward a week. What do you need to see this next week compared to what you saw in the first week of camp?
Yeah, I think, again, Friday night will be the start of really the next week of ratcheting things up from an evaluation standpoint, where you're starting to see players in game situations in front of a crowd. Like I said, some playing with the ones that don't normally play with alongside the ones. And then we're a week out basically. I think it's next Saturday to the first preseason game. So the players know that, especially the older players. The younger players maybe more just dialed in on this practice. But it's all about those mile markers along the way here to making sure we're staying on schedule at the right time.
Sean, we had some about, I know, like, preparation is, you're all about that, whether it's scheme or even like logistics. I think we've talked about in the past, like, you use preseason games as like a model for what a regular season game day is. Like, do you do any of that with regard to the practice, kind of a behind the scenes approach to tomorrow night?
Yeah, definitely, and that's part of the reason why we do it, is to get the players down there as well. Some of these players have not been in our home locker room, don't know our operation the morning of a game type of situation, and have never kind of gone through that routine. So it gives them a chance to get in the home locker room. They'll dress over there, and then go through it and just get a feel for where the training room is in there and the tubs and everything that they use. I think that's important. We used to do that with Andy, and I thought that was a great model to kind of start the ball rolling towards that first preseason game and get guys, even the older guys who have been with us, it just gets them back in that headspace again.
First tomorrow, obviously a lot of it is evaluating players. That's stuff you just talked about letting them have a run through. But for you, is there anything you want to self-evaluate as you have that first chance in a scrimmage to do some the defensive play calling? Like, what are you looking for out of yourself tomorrow?
Yeah, there'll be opportunities for that. We're going to try and run it as much like our practice out here as we have been, and so there'll be times when I'm the head coach. There'll be times where you see out here where I'm on the side with the defense, and Coach Smiley and Matt are out and around the team and managing the operation there. So yeah, we're going to send our coaches upstairs. Another thing we're going to do is send our coaches who are going to be in the press box. We're going to send them up to the press box, and they're going to get a good feel for that and how that works and some of the communication. And I think that's all part of the preseason experience.
Sean, John Butler said the other day that you asked Terrence sometimes to cover Travis Kelce and tackle Derrick Henry, like he's a unique guy for you. How different is that?
That guy's a unique guy also. That guy walking by.
How unique is that for any defense to have a guy in his position that is so versatile and does so much?
Yeah, he does a phenomenal job. You think about what he's asked to do. You think about where he was when he first came to us from Weber State, and the guys give him a hard time all the time about coming from that small school, and he's just done a phenomenal job of building himself into a player that can do all of that. And obviously, the coaches have done a great job with him. So he's a valuable part of our defense. Thanks, guys.